The Galactic Council Chamber was the heart of the universe. A hall of shining marble, silver pillars, and glowing crystal walls. Delegates from 100 empires sat in high seats, their robes clean, their voices soft with pride. It was a place where blood, dirt, and war were never meant to enter. The doors had not been opened by force for centuries. They were guarded by soldiers, protected by laws, and wrapped in ceremony. Only the chosen, the powerful, and the clean ever walked into this hall. That is why the moment the great doors thundered open, the council froze. A storm of silence spread across the chamber. Every alien eye turned, and then they saw them. Humans. A small group, no more than 20, walked forward with heavy steps. Their boots clanged against the polished floor, leaving smears of red. Their armor was cracked, scorched, and wet with blood that was not their own. Pieces of flesh and torn cloth clung to their plates. Their weapons, long blades and black rifles, still dripped from the battles they had just survived. Gasps echoed. Some delegates covered their faces. Some whispered in disgust. Others whispered in fear. Never, in all the history of the council, had warriors entered dripping with the death of enemies. At their head walked a tall man with sharp eyes, his armor dented across the chest where he had clearly taken a killing blow, and yet lived. His name was Captain Elias Kane. His face was marked with dirt and streaks of blood, his jaw set like iron. He did not walk as a beggar or a slave. He walked like a conqueror. Behind him, the humans carried something. When they reached the center of the chamber, Kane dropped it onto the flawless floor with a loud crash. It was a torn banner. The sigil of the Krell Dominion, one of the strongest empires in the galaxy, smeared with their own blood. The banner was not folded. It was not clean. It was thrown down like the corpse of a beaten enemy. A ripple of shock ran through the council. Some stood to their feet. Others shouted in anger. But Kane raised his voice, and it silenced the room. "We are here to speak." His words were sharp, simple, and without respect. They were not dressed in ceremony. They were not softened with apology. He spoke as if he had the right to stand here, even dripping with the blood of the powerful. The Krell delegate, a tall creature with bone-white skin and burning red eyes, slammed his clawed fist on the table. "This is a violation," the Krell roared. "They bring war filth into this holy place. Remove them. Tear them down." Other voices joined. "Unacceptable," shouted the Varen senator, her golden feathers shaking. "An insult," cried the Urath war chief. "Humans have no seat here," another spat. Guards began to move, their long spears glowing with energy. The chamber filled with tension, like the air before a storm. But the humans did not flinch. They stood in a formation, weapons lowered but ready, eyes cold and steady. And then Kane spoke again, louder. "Do not mistake us. We are not here to beg. We are not here to crawl. We are not here to ask for your mercy." The words hung in the chamber like a blade. Every delegate froze. For generations, humans had been seen as the broken race. Once, long ago, Earth had been shattered in the wars of the great empires. The survivors scattered, hunted, enslaved, and mocked. For centuries, humans entered halls like this one in chains, heads bowed, begging for scraps. But this was not that. These humans stood straight. Their eyes burned. Their armor spoke of victories carved out in blood. The galaxy expected beggars. Instead, they saw warriors. The Krell delegate hissed. "You dare to mock us, Kane? You dare bring our banner into this hall? Your kind was finished long ago. You are nothing." Kane stared back without fear. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "You thought we were finished. You thought we would break. You thought we would kneel forever." He stepped forward, close enough that the Krell felt the human's presence like fire. "Look at us now. Still standing. Still fighting. Still here." Gasps whispered across the chamber. Some delegates felt unease. Others felt something they would not admit: fear. Because if these humans had torn down a Krell war banner, it meant they had done the impossible. They had fought one of the galaxy's strongest powers, and won. Kane turned to face the chamber. For years, you laughed. You called us weak. You thought our spirit was gone. But we came through fire. We came through chains. And we came through war. He raised his blood-stained hand and pointed it at the rows of alien leaders. From this day, we kneel to no one. The hall erupted. Shouts of anger. Cries of alarm. Guards gripping their weapons, torn between orders and fear. But nothing in that moment could erase the image. Humans, standing in the center of the Galactic Council, dripping with enemy blood. Not as victims. Not as beggars. But as survivors who carried death on their armor and defiance in their eyes. The galaxy had always believed that humans were a broken people. But in that hall, with one act, Captain Elias Kane showed the truth. Humanity was done with mercy. And for the first time in centuries, the universe began to feel fear. The hall of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. The marble floors, polished for ages, now carried human footprints marked with dust and blood. Every alien delegate, emperors, chancellors, admirals and ministers, watched in disbelief as the humans stood tall in the center. For centuries, humans had been considered weak. They were the newest species allowed into space, always begging for protection, asking for treaties, pleading for survival. Many alien races mocked them as the children of the stars. But now, those same children had walked into the council looking like hunters who had slain monsters. Captain Elias Kane stood at the front. His armor bore scratches from plasma fire, his shoulder carried a half-burned insignia of Earth's defense fleet, and his eyes were cold and steady. Behind him, his soldiers carried no flags of surrender. Instead, they dropped broken alien weapons at the council's feet. A tall, feathered alien from the Zothri Alliance finally broke the silence. His voice trembled as he shouted, "This is a place of peace. You dare come into this hall carrying blood." Elias Kane did not flinch. He answered in a voice that carried across the chamber. "We are not here to beg. We are not here to bow. We are here because war was brought to us. And we survived." The words struck like thunder. Many alien leaders leaned back, whispering to their aides. Others clicked their mandibles in fear or anger. The council had expected humans to crawl for help. Instead, they arrived showing strength. An elder from the Tri-Arch Dominion rose from his seat, scales shining under the golden lights. His tone was sharp. Humans should not be alive. The Kreel Empire sent 10 fleets to wipe Earth from the stars. No one could endure such destruction. Elias turned his gaze toward the elder. His reply was calm but heavy. 10 fleets came. Only one returned. And it ran. The hall erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in disbelief. Some cried out that humans were liars. Others demanded proof. Yet others stared in silence, realizing that if the humans spoke truth, then something terrifying had just happened in the galaxy. The council chancellor, a tall and glowing being from the Erythri species, slammed her staff against the floor. The sound silenced the hall again. "Explain," she ordered. "If this is not madness, then tell us what happened." Elias gestured to one of his soldiers. The man stepped forward, carrying a battered data core taken from a destroyed Kreel flagship. With a hard motion, he placed it on the central table. The hologram flickered to life. Everyone in the chamber watched as images appeared, scenes of massive Kreel fleets surrounding Earth, burning cities, and falling human ships. Yet the recording did not end there. Soon, the vision showed something unexpected, humans fighting back with impossible ferocity. Kamikaze runs, hidden weapons, and brutal boarding actions. Ships that should have been destroyed still pressed forward, ramming into Kreel battleships. Soldiers with no hope still charged. Then the most shocking image appeared. A Kreel dreadnought, 3 times larger than any human ship, was dragged into Earth's atmosphere by a crippled human cruiser. The cruiser's captain had locked its engines and refused to eject. The resulting explosion shattered the dreadnought in half. Gasps filled the council chamber. Some delegates trembled, others covered their eyes. Elias let the recording play until the end, until the surviving Creel ships fled in panic, abandoning the invasion. The hologram faded. The silence that followed was worse than the chaos. Finally, a delegate from the Saraxi swarm whispered, "No species fights like this. No one chooses death over defeat. No one sacrifices everything just to take an enemy down with them." Elias Kane's eyes scanned the room. His words came slow and sharp. "Now you see. We are not like you. We are not built to kneel. When you pushed us to the edge, we learned something new. Mercy ends. And when mercy ends, fear begins." Many in the chamber felt their hearts tighten. Some thought humanity had become dangerous, uncontrollable. Others thought humanity had become the most valuable ally in the galaxy. The Chancellor raised her staff again. "This council will deliberate. But know this, human blood has no place here. If you wish to speak, you must speak as members of the stars, not as monsters." Elias bent down, picked up the severed Creel banner he had dropped earlier, and set it aflame with a plasma torch. The fire burned hot, sending black smoke rising through the golden chamber. "We are not monsters," he said. "We are survivors. And survivors always return stronger." The council watched as the fire consumed the banner. In that moment, they all understood one thing. The humans were no longer asking for a seat at the table. They were taking it. The Galactic Council had seen many wars, but nothing like this. The whispers inside the hall grew louder, echoing like a storm. Delegates leaned closer to one another, their voices sharp with worry. "They should not be alive," hissed a Zorati ambassador, his 6 eyes wide with disbelief. "The Krail fleet destroyed Earth. No one survives that." "They didn't just survive," muttered another alien, a scaled diplomat from the Valari. "They fought back. Look at their armor. It carries Krail blood." Across the chamber, Captain Elias Kane stood still, silent, his soldiers flanking him. Their faces were worn, their eyes cold. These were not soldiers who had come for negotiation. These were survivors who had dragged themselves back from the edge of extinction. The council's leader, Archon Saraxis, tapped his clawed hand on the golden podium. His voice boomed. "Humans, explain yourselves. You were destroyed. You were broken. And yet you walk into this sacred chamber as if you are conquerors." Captain Kane did not bow. He did not kneel. Instead, he raised his head, his voice steady and sharp. "We bled. We burned. And we buried our dead. But we did not break. You thought Earth would vanish quietly. You were wrong." Gasps filled the chamber. For centuries, every species that lost its homeworld had begged for mercy in this hall. They pleaded for scraps, for survival. But the humans, these humans, stood with fire in their voices. One alien delegate, his feathers trembling, pointed at them. "This is blasphemy. They bring blood into the council chamber. They defile this place of peace." Kane's second-in-command, Lieutenant Mira Torres, stepped forward. Her armor carried a long, dark streak of dried blood that was not her own. She spoke in a low voice, each word cutting like a blade. "Peace? You watched as the Krail slaughtered our people. You sat in this chamber and did nothing. Do not speak to us of peace." The words struck deep. Some delegates lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others hissed in anger, unwilling to hear truth. But one thing spread faster than their voices: fear. They had thought humanity was finished. They had believed Earth to be nothing but ash. Yet here stood survivors who refused to bow, who carried themselves like wolves among sheep. The Archon leaned forward, his dark eyes narrowing. "Why are you here? What do you want from this council?" Captain Kane looked around the vast chamber. His boots echoed as he stepped forward, each sound making the aliens tense. He stopped at the center, his shadow stretching across the marble floor. "What do we want?" he said, his voice calm but heavy. "We want you to know what you created." The hall fell silent. "You watched as the Krail tried to erase us. You let it happen. But in fire, we found strength. In loss, we found unity. We don't crawl anymore. We don't beg. We don't ask for mercy. From this day forward, humanity does not kneel." The words struck like thunder. Every alien felt it, the shift in the room, the change in the air. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was afraid. Not of armies. Not of fleets. But of an idea, humanity's refusal to die quietly. One elder ambassador whispered to another, his voice trembling. "If they survived this long, what else can they endure? What else can they become?" The council leader tried to hold his authority. He slammed his claw again. "You threaten the order of this galaxy. We will not allow humans to bring war into this hall." Captain Kane's soldiers shifted, their hands near their weapons. But Kane himself only stared at the Archon. His lips curled into a grim smile. "You already allowed war. You just chose to watch it fall on us. Now, we bring you the truth of what you ignored." From his side, Mira Torres dropped a blood-stained helmet onto the polished floor. The sound echoed like a drumbeat. It was a Krail warlord's helmet. The chamber froze. Delegates who had once trembled before the Krail now stared at the proof of their defeat, delivered by the very species they had abandoned. Whispers turned into panic. The idea spread like wildfire. Humans killed a Krail warlord. Humans survived annihilation. Humans walked into the council dripping in blood, unbroken. The Archon tried to speak again, but his voice faltered. For the first time, his power felt thin. Elias Kane's voice cut through the noise. "Remember this moment. Remember the blood. Because the galaxy will never forget who we are. Humanity is not finished. Humanity has only begun." His soldiers struck their fists against their armor, the sound echoing like thunder. And in that grand hall, for the first time, the galaxy learned to fear the humans who refused to die. The council chamber was never meant to hold silence. It was a place where voices clashed, where arguments echoed like storms. But after the humans' vow, silence ruled. No one dared to speak first. Finally, Chancellor Zorath of the Creel Alliance broke the quiet. His voice was sharp, but it trembled. "Do you think you can frighten us with blood and broken steel? You are a species of one small world. The galaxy has crushed countless rebels before. You will be no different." Captain Elias Kane looked at him, his armor scratched, his face shadowed with exhaustion. He did not raise his voice. He simply said, "We are not rebels. We are survivors. There is a difference." The words sank into the chamber like a blade. Counselors shifted in their seats. Some tried to scoff, others whispered to one another. But many eyes betrayed the same truth. They were afraid. Admiral Serana of the Vayari leaned toward her aide. "If they could break through the Draken lines, if they truly did it, then what else are they capable of?" she muttered. The aide shook his head. "No one survives the Draken. But the humans had. And they had walked into the most sacred hall dripping with proof." On the far side of the chamber, an elder of the Soren race raised his long arms. His skin shimmered like silver, and his voice carried like wind over stone. "Humans, your arrival here in such a state is an insult to the dignity of this council. But it is also a warning. The Draken are not weak. For you to stand here at all means you did what none of us could." The alien looked around the chamber. Perhaps the question is not what the humans want, but what they already are becoming. The murmurs grew louder. Some feared humanity's rise. Others began to see opportunity. A new player on the board. A dangerous one. Captain Kane stepped forward, placing his gauntlet hands on the council's central table. "You mock our world. You call us savages. But your wars made us strong. Your chains taught us patience. And your cruelty gave us unity. His eyes scanned the room. You ask what we want. We want no chains. No masters. No one to ever again laugh at our begging. We came covered in blood to remind you, mercy is gone. We will carve our place in this galaxy. The silence after those words was heavier than before. In the shadows of the chamber, a hidden transmission was sent. Several empires, watching through secret feeds, began to whisper to their generals. One envoy from the Xylox Dominion leaned to her comm screen. They are dangerous. If they rise unchecked, they will spread like fire. Prepare our fleets. But another envoy, a merchant lord from the Olaris Trade League, smiled instead. Dangerous. Yes. But also profitable. Imagine what their weapons and soldiers could do under our contracts. The galaxy may tremble, but I smell opportunity. The council was already dividing. Meanwhile, whispers ran through the hall. Delegates remembered past encounters with humans, their strange stubbornness, their reckless bravery, the way they fought long after logic demanded surrender. Now those whispers grew louder. They defeated the Draken. They should have been extinct by now. If they survived that, what else can they survive? Fear turned into something darker, respect. Chancellor Zoreth slammed his clawed hand on the table. This is madness. They are blood-soaked beasts, not diplomats. If we allow them in this chamber, we invite war into the very heart of the council. But Elder Soren responded calmly. Perhaps war is already here. And perhaps they are the only ones who know how to fight it. All eyes turned again to Captain Kane. The human did not smile, did not boast. He only lifted the broken Draken banner once more and let it fall onto the floor. We didn't come here for your permission, he said. We came to tell you, humanity stands. Outside the chamber, news had already spread. Across the galaxy, broadcasts showed the shocking images, humans in battered armor, walking into the council drenched in enemy blood. Civilizations that had never cared about Earth suddenly knew the name of the species that would not kneel. On mining colonies, slaves whispered in the dark. If the humans can rise, maybe we can too. On border worlds, soldiers whispered in fear. If the humans survived the Draken, what chance do we have against them? In royal palaces, rulers whispered in envy. They should have been broken. Yet now they rise as warriors. The council session ended in chaos. No agreement, no resolution, only unease. Some called for war against humanity, others for alliance, others simply for caution. But one thing was certain, the galaxy no longer saw humans as beggars. They saw them as something far more dangerous, something unpredictable, something that could not be controlled. And as the humans left the council chamber, leaving bloody footprints on polished stone, the words of Captain Kane echoed in every mind. No more mercy. The council chamber had turned into a battlefield of words. Aliens shouted, their voices rising higher than the echoes of past wars. The sight of humans standing proud in blood-soaked armor had shaken the balance of the galaxy. But it was not over. The Speaker of the Council, a massive insectoid being with glowing blue eyes, slammed his staff against the floor. The sound cracked like thunder. Silence spread through the hall. Humans, he said, his voice clicking like metal against stone. You come here covered in blood. You claim victory against enemies stronger than you. But the council is not a place for warriors. It is a place for law. And by law, you must stand trial. The alien delegates cheered. They wanted control back. They wanted to remind humans that rules mattered more than strength. Captain Elias Kane did not bow. He stepped forward, his boots leaving dark stains on the white floor. Then put us on trial, he said calmly. Let the galaxy hear what humans have done. Let them hear why we fight. Gasps spread through the chamber. No one had expected humans to welcome judgment. Trials were meant to break the spirit, to humiliate the accused before all species. But Cain's eyes were sharp, unbroken. He wanted this. The council moved fast. The humans were placed inside a circular ring of light, surrounded by floating drones. The aliens called it the Circle of Judgment. If one spoke lies, the drones would burn with red fire. If one spoke truth, the fire stayed calm. It was a tool of shame. The first to question Cain was an elder from the Vare Dominion, a tall alien with glass-like skin. His voice trembled with both rage and fear. "You murdered our fleet outside the Nebris Rift," the elder shouted. "You slaughtered our soldiers even when they begged for surrender. What kind of monsters are you?" The drones lit up, waiting for Cain's words. Cain's face was still as stone. His voice carried across the chamber. "They did not beg for surrender. They begged for our extinction. Your fleet had one mission: burn Earth to ash. You call us monsters? You came for our children. We came for your warships. And we won." The drones stayed calm. The light burned steady, pure. Truth. The chamber filled with whispers. Some aliens looked at Cain with hatred. Others with unease. The truth could not be denied. Another alien rose, this time from the Korlak Syndicate. His mouth was lined with sharp teeth, his cloak dripping with jewels. "You humans fight like beasts. You do not honor rules of war. You strike when weak. You ambush. You destroy without mercy." Cain turned to him. His voice was colder now. "We learned mercy from you. When Earth begged, you gave us chains. When Earth cried, you gave us fire. No more mercy. Never again." The drones stayed calm once more. "Truth." The words echoed through the chamber like a blade cutting into stone. "No more mercy." The alien delegates shifted in their seats. They had thought humans weak, soft, easy to break. But now they saw a species that had been forged by betrayal, cruelty, and survival. Then came the final question, from the speaker himself. His blue eyes glowed brighter, piercing Cain's face. "Captain," he said, voice low, heavy. "Why are you here? Why did you come to this council instead of destroying more fleets? What do humans want?" The chamber froze. Every delegate leaned forward. The truth of this answer could change everything. Cain stepped closer to the edge of the circle. His armor cracked as he moved, dried blood falling like dust. His voice was steady, almost quiet, but it carried across the massive chamber. "We are not here for mercy. We are not here for forgiveness. We came here for one reason." He paused. Every alien leaned closer. "To remind the galaxy that humanity still stands. We fight because you left us no choice. And we came here dripping in blood to show you the truth. You cannot kill us. You cannot break us. You cannot make us kneel ever again." The drones stayed calm. Truth. The chamber exploded with chaos. Some aliens shouted for war. Some demanded humanity be cast out forever. But others stayed silent, fear shining in their eyes. For the first time, they truly believed humans were not just survivors. They were something far more dangerous. Captain Cain raised his hand, silencing his own people. His eyes swept across the chamber, burning into every alien who dared meet his gaze. "This trial was meant to shame us," he said, his voice a quiet storm. "But instead, it has judged you. The galaxy sees now what you fear. Not our weapons. Not our ships. You fear our will. Because once humanity stops asking for mercy, there is nothing left in the stars that can stop us." And with that, Cain turned, stepping out of the circle of judgment. The drones did not stop him. The lights did not flare. The council had no answer. The humans walked out the way they came, through the great doors, armor scarred, weapons heavy, but heads unbowed. The chamber behind them filled with noise. Panic. Anger. Fear. The galaxy had put humans on trial. And humanity had turned it into a warning. The council chamber had never been so silent. The sound of Captain Elias Kane's voice still echoed in the air. Every alien delegate stared at the humans, their eyes wide, their bodies stiff. They had expected weakness, not defiance. They had expected fear, not fire. Elias stood tall, his armor cracked, his hands still stained with enemy blood. His soldiers stood behind him, silent, unbroken, unafraid. The galaxy had seen many warriors, but never had anyone entered this hall like this, drenched in battle yet refusing to bow. An elder alien, his skin like glass and his eyes like fire, finally broke the silence. "You humans dare insult this council with blood and violence," he hissed. "You should be destroyed for your arrogance." Elias did not flinch. He stepped forward, boots echoing on the polished floor. "We fought your wars," he said, voice sharp and steady. "We were used as pawns, as fodder, as tools. You thought humanity would beg for a place at your table. But we are not here as slaves. We are here as equals, or enemies. Choose." The chamber erupted. Alien voices clashed in anger, fear, and confusion. Some shouted for the humans' execution. Others whispered in awe. The humans did not move. They stood still, like statues of iron, waiting for the galaxy to make its choice. Then the doors slammed open again. A group of alien guards stormed in, weapons raised. The delegates gasped. It was an unspoken rule, no bloodshed in the council chamber. But the guards ignored tradition. Their orders were clear: arrest the humans. Elias slowly turned to his soldiers. He did not raise his weapon. He did not shout. He only nodded once. The humans moved like a storm. In seconds, the guards lay scattered across the floor, weapons ripped from their hands. None were killed, but all were broken. The message was clear: humanity could fight even here, in the heart of galactic law. Elias faced the council again. His voice carried like thunder. "We have fought your enemies. We have fought our enemies. And if you choose, we will fight you too. But understand this: humans do not kneel anymore. Not to kings. Not to empires. Not to councils. Not to anyone." The words struck like fire. Delegates whispered, shouted, trembled. Some called the humans dangerous, a threat that must be erased before they grew stronger. But others saw something else, something the galaxy had forgotten. One delegate, an old reptilian leader with scales of silver, leaned forward. His voice was deep and calm. "I was there," he said, "when your world was first burned. I saw your people cry for help. I thought you would die in silence. But now I see. I was wrong. You did not die. You learned. You endured. And now you stand here, stronger than before." He turned to the others. "Fear them if you must. Hate them if you wish. But do not make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. If they came here dripping in the blood of enemies, it means they survived where others fell. And any species that can do that is not weak. It is dangerous." The chamber fell quiet again. For the first time, fear mixed with respect. Humanity had not asked for a seat. Humanity had demanded recognition. Elias did not smile. He only raised his chin and said, "We will not beg. We will not kneel. Decide if we are your allies, or your nightmares." No one dared answer immediately. The silence was heavy, almost unbearable. Then, slowly, one delegate began to clap. Another followed. And another. Soon, half the chamber was filled with the sound of alien hands and claws striking together. The sound echoed like thunder. Not all clapped. Many still looked at the humans with hate. Many would still plot against them. But the moment had already been sealed. The galaxy would never again forget the name of humanity. Elias turned to his soldiers. His voice dropped low, only for them to hear. "This is not the end. This is only the beginning. They will fear us. They will test us. but they will never again look at humans as broken. The humans left the chamber, their footsteps heavy, their armor shining under the great lights. They left behind silence, blood, and fear. And as the council delegates whispered among themselves, one truth became clear. When humanity stopped begging, the galaxy learned to fear. When humanity arrived at the council dripping in blood, the stars themselves shifted. The age of silence was over. The age of humanity had begun.